Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project and Magnetic Reversal News. Coming to you Tuesday, April 16th, 1 a.m. Mountain Time. You're looking at ACE RTSW estimated. This is the BZ, the phi angle, the density, the plasma speed, and the temperature of our sun. Entering the atmosphere. Here we can see the plasma speed increasing on Earth. But I want to bring your attention up here to this blue dot, the phi angle. And let's refresh it to make sure that we're fresh. Thank you for joining us tonight. So the phi angle now sitting at 180 is bad news. And that means that we're on seismic alert, and a 5.1 just kicked off in Alaska in Kobuk. But they've already downgraded it within minutes. I'm sure a lot of you saw this. 4.7 now in Kobuk. And we have another deep quake here that we should be worried about in Brazil, which could resurface as a larger quake in this region. All related to the BZ angle. The phi angle. Now this phi angle is important because it shows the power coming from the sun to the earth. When the blue lines down here were earth to sun, and it's the 180 angle that is the most important when we're looking for seismic activity. See here, we just jiggled with it for a second, probably a major uptick in seismicity. But here we're sitting at the dead zone, 180. Seismic uptick much? You are watching Magnetic Reversal News, the Grand Solar Minimum Preparedness Update, which is coming to you daily until Oppenheimer Ranch Project gets remonetized. Now, as France burns and the Notre Dame Cathedral goes up in smoke.
Breaking news out of Paris, we're getting word of what appears to be a fire at the Notre Dame Cathedral. You can see the smoke in these pictures. You can see the flames shooting out of the roof.
Merci beaucoup.
As the cathedral burns, so do the vineyards. Now, last year was one of the biggest losses in France's vineyards in decades, and the same thing is occurring right now as we speak. It's almost glorious. Astonishing aerial photos. No, we don't want that. Not at all, please. Astonishing aerial photos show anti-frost candles to protect French and German vineyards. The same thing was going on last year, just a few weeks earlier, and it is all related to the solar minimum and the grand solar minimum, meaning one of the deeper minimums in decades, which we're entering. And it's going to continue to happen for the rest of your lives. Over 1,100 flights canceled at Chicago airports due to snow conditions on Sunday, which was not a fun day for many of you because it's the middle of spring. Snow forecast Monday through Tuesday, which will be your lose day in western Wyoming. Yeah, 14 to 18 inches predicted throughout the upper mountains there, as well as eastern Idaho, southeastern Idaho. The High Sierra is picking up quite a bit of a notch there, up into the 1 foot range. Not bad for mid-April. And then through midweek, the snow will continue, and it'll just drop south into New Mexico and Colorado, and we will have unsettled weather pummeling the high country. And if we look at the outlook for next week, we're going to see that cold pattern remain for the upper central Midwest, the plains, and we could see blizzards developing through the end of April into May, as I predicted weeks ago. New evidence suggests volcanoes caused the biggest mass extinctions ever. Well, we should get to that later in the show, shouldn't we? Stick with us. Let's talk about Chi-Town. Seeing the biggest snowfall this late in the season in more than 5 decades. I'm sure you heard of this on the mainstream news. This is coming from AccuWeather, fortunately, but it's been localized to Chicago only. And that's because this is anomalous events. Look at them out there. Soccer game continues in Chi-Town. As the snow falls down in mid-April. That's like back in the Maunder minimum was like that. Definitely during the Dalton minimum. Spring arrived weeks ago in the Windy City. But then on Sunday, winter made an abrupt return, bringing significant snowfall to Chi-Town, as well as places in Missouri, Indiana, and Michigan. Chicago O'Hare's airport was whitened by 5.3 inches of snow Sunday. That made April 14th one of the 2 top snowiest days this late in the season. The snowiest day in the city's history was April 14th to early May is 5.4 inches. And that was back in 1961. And before that, they're not telling. Because global warming's a fraud, they're smelling. Frigid weekend temps ahead of snow, extreme cold. I'm being bold. Major Emmanuel and the city officials are scheduled to hold a presser around 11:45 Saturday to address the frigid cold temperatures and weather preparedness. Yeah, they just broke 5-decade-old records. And let's talk about the flooding. Flooding is imminent. The last time we showed you this map just 5 days ago, there were less than 500 rivers above or near flood stage, and now we've eclipsed that. We're over 500 rivers in the central U.S. at or above flood stage, or nearing there. And the purple number is 32 gauges above major flooding. And this is going to increase, not decrease. And what I mean, it's a long-term event. Here we just look at the Mississippi River gauge at Gladstone, and you can see we're currently at 15.4 feet. Which is 1.4 feet above major flood, which means amazing flood, or grand solar minimum flood, or cosmic rays out your buttocks flood. And it's going to continue to flood day after 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 day. And this is a projection. And what I'm about to show you is not conjecture or contradiction. It's diction. It's not fiction, it's facts. And this is the total precipitated water over the next 7 days, which will lead you into a haze because the Mississippi River Valley comes right through the middle. And we see up to 12 inches of rain falling in these regions, which will all feed into this baby. We're predicting in the next 3 to 4 weeks, major flooding in the Louisiana area, Mississippi, Arkansas. Heads up, Tennessee. Kentucky, we're getting plucky. But this water and this flooding is epic. Do you know where you're at? It's boom time. And that's tonight's first boom. GFS model showing heavy snow, record snow in western Wyoming through April 26th. Let's just walk you through the next 24 hours. Let's do 48. Heavy snow in the high elevations throughout all of the west. Here's the line. Continental Divide much. Snow falling as far south as just west of LA. Are you kidding me? Now luckily, the center of the craton is going to be warming up a little. Whoa, let's get jiggy. But we still have snow falling down here as far south as Georgia. Potentially here. Holy macaroni. It's going to be chilly on Sunday down there in southern Appalachia. Heads up. Snow water equivalent is really, or the total precipitated water is really what gets me. Because this is all falling in the mid-craton. And by May, you saw the forecast. This is going to be cold. This could be snow in these regions. Could you imagine a blizzard in Oklahoma right before we enter May? Why is it so rainy and cold in the Mideast this spring? Because it's been that way for the last 3 years. There's been snow falling in regions that haven't seen snow for 60 years. You know what we call it, folks? The sun, which controls the weather. And this snow will continue to fall for next year and the year after, and probably for all of these cycles as we descend into the next glacial epoch before your very lives. Seismic update. Aftershocks after the big 5.2 was downgraded to 4.7. Thank God they did that. It's really quelching nerves, especially this cacophony of quakes here on the West Coast. The geysers hitting off at 4.1. I bet you they may start outgassing right in your Lassing. Little small B flare shooting off that massive sunspot that is now turned from Earth facing and going away over the western limb, thankfully. Heads up. Well, we could see more activity and this could ramp up because that's what happens at solar minimum. As the spot turns away, it gets angry. But we should be more worried about is the phi angle sticking at 180, but it's jumped back up here to 270, thankfully. So we're out of seismic risk as we do the video. Scientists monitor increased activity at the Big Island. You know why? Because there was just a 5.1 near Mauna Loa. Now they're monitoring increased activity surrounding one of the Big Island's volcanoes. I wonder which one. Mauna Loa. It's too early to predict possible outcomes of this activity, according to Tina Neal. An eruption could be anywhere from months to years away, but we don't know. It's not days or weeks away. So you know what they know? Nothing. But I do know one thing. This could be related to that massive outpouring of lava, one of the biggest events in decades or hundreds of years on the Big Island. And we're going to see some seismic adjustment in the land, so this could be a huge collapse scenario in the caldera, which would register around that 5 magnitude range where we saw quakes the other day. There is no outgassing, there is no volcanic fumes, so there's no evidence of a eruption happening anytime soon. You'll be the first to know when I know. Worldwide Volcano News Update. Ducono Reventador, Popo, Ibu Ducono Reventador. I sound like a broken record. Sabancaya. Oh, Maya. Nothing important. All normal activity worldwide. Cold weather to grip the world, according to NASA. Well, thank God. Whew. Let's see what they had to say years ago.
A period of relative calm. This is called solar minimum, says Dean Pesnell of NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Green
Diamond says do a dab.
And it's a regular part of the sunspot cycle. The sun is heading towards solar minimum now. Sunspot counts were relatively high in 2014, and now they're sliding toward a low point expected in 2019 to 2020. While intense activity such as sunspots and solar flares subside during solar minimum, that doesn't mean the sun becomes dull. Solar activity simply changes form. But during solar minimum, this natural heating mechanism subsides. Earth's upper atmosphere cools and to some degree can collapse. Without a normal amount of drag, space junk tends to hang around. There are unique space weather effects that get stronger during solar minimum. For example, the number of galactic cosmic rays that reach Earth's upper atmosphere increases during solar minimum. Galactic cosmic rays are high-energy particles accelerated toward the solar system by distant supernova explosions and other violent events in the galaxy. Pesnell says that during solar minimum, the sun's magnetic field weakens and provides less shielding from these cosmic rays. This can pose an increased threat to astronauts traveling through space.
Oh my God, this is, what a fraud that article is. What a article, let's erase it. Now, it's not an increased threat to astronauts alone, boom. How about humans on the surface? And not all cosmic rays are emanating from distant areas. They're coming from the sun as well. We have galactic cosmic rays and solar cosmic rays. And as the magnetosphere wanes, your life is at risk. The risk to infrastructure. It's insane how they're glossing over the risks. There are people from NASA that will be at LeCon, like Greg Allison, who is in charge of the you know, the Alabama grid hardening, whatever his group is. But these are people that are in the know, and you are in the not know. You are in the not to need to know, because we'll explain that in a minute. I'm about to reveal some amazing shit. It's time for us to all recognize the 97% con game. The 97% consensus con game. Coming out April 10th. Many articles have been written to refute this claim, but they all dig into the statistical weeds. Common sense alone should set you straight. If the reader wishes, he or she could read the original paper by Nomi Orskis that started it all, or whatever that means. You might die laughing. And the fact is that it's a sham. The fraudulent 97% consensus is clearly a marketing ploy. What makes science different from religion is that only empirical evidence matters, not opinion. Which is why at Magnetic Reversal News and the Oppenheimer Ranch, we use empirical evidence, which pisses some people off to no end. Believe me, I know. Best in snow. New scientific device creates electricity from snowfall. I hope you're not a snowflake. The first of its kind nano generator designed at UCLA Research also acts as a weather station. Now, someone sent me a link to a device that can create power in the dark if you just put salt in, but it's just a battery to charge batteries. And it's pretty expensive. But UCLA researchers and colleagues have designed a new device that creates electricity from falling snow, which really could be beneficial in the future. The first of its kind. And this device is inexpensive, small, thin, and flexible like a sheet of plastic. And you can kiss my astic. The device can work in remote areas because it provides its own power and does not need batteries, said senior author Richard Canner, who holds UCLA's Dr. Myung-Ki Hong Endowed Chair in Materials Innovation. It's a very clever device, a weather station that can tell you how much snow is falling, the direction the snow is falling, and the direction and speed of the wind, which means you will know as the crops fail how you actually are. It's amazing. I love the device. If you want to know more about it, click the links below where they always are. And if you still don't know where they are, please ask someone. Already, Business Insider. Scientists just printed the world's first 3D heart using human tissue, which is actually pretty disgusting, if you ask me. Looks like a miniature heart. A team of researchers have successfully printed an entire heart with blood vessels, ventricles, and chambers. And if you don't believe they've already printed an entire human, then you're absolutely out of your mind. Previously, scientists have only printed tissues without blood vessels. Until this article where they're actually revealing that. This particular heart is sized for a rabbit, but professors say that larger human hearts could be produced using the same technology, as well as people, or miniature people, or tiny elves and fairies. New evidence suggests volcanoes caused the biggest mass extinction ever. That's a great picture. This is from an 8th grader who won the event. Anyway, researchers say mercury buried in ancient rock that we played with, those that are 47 or older in grade school, provides the strongest evidence yet that volcanoes caused the biggest mass extinction in the history of Earth. Yeah, the extinction 252 million years ago was so dramatic and widespread that it led to dinosaurs. Those fucking whores. The catastrophe killed off more than 95% of all life on Earth. So those of you wondering why we're still here, this has nothing to do with it. But I digress. The eruption ignited vast deposits of coal, releasing mercury vapor high into the atmosphere. Eventually, it rained down into the marine sediment around the planet. Now, I don't know about you, but mercury rain sounds atrocious. But you know what's more atrocious? What happened to me this weekend? Someone who watched this show came to my property to stalk me. On Friday, they left. On Saturday, when I returned, they were waiting for me. And then I was attacked. Luckily, I escaped. But this person wanted to kill me. And on Wednesday, they will be in front of a judge facing felony charges. It sickens me that people can be so inept that they would want to cause harm to someone that they do not understand. Because of the risks to myself and my family, no one is ever allowed to come to this property. If you have the address, burn it. If you were thinking of coming here, I apologize. If we can't all just get along, we will be shot.